name is Tripp. Today I'm going to be walking through my digital portfolio for my senior exhibition, talking about my experience here at METSA, my whole entire high school career, and what I'm going to take away to college next year at Texas A&M University. This is my digital portfolio. This is the actual home page that you'll first be looking at when you enter the website. You can see here I've got a large photo of my Certification 1 rocket that'll be launching here later on in June. And I'll talk more about rocketry later on in the presentation. But that's just a glimpse of who I am. It says digital portfolio, gives a very brief description. Hello potential employers, my name is Tripp, and this is a summary of me. So once we get into the later tabs, you'll see college comparison essays, things I've learned here at METSA, all the different aspects that have made me through METSA and what I'm all about. So we'll go ahead and start. The first tab that anybody will be looking at is my personal statement. This was actually written freshman year in Introduction to Engineering Design, just as kind of a summary of who I am, what I like to be, and what I think about myself. It also tells a little bit about what I'm interested in, my hobbies, what I strive to be in the future, and everything that I hope to gain from METSA. And I don't want to read through the majority of it. That would be a bit much. So then after, say, a potential employer looks at personal statement and gets to know a little bit about me, I want them to look at some of my accomplishments and my background professionally. So this is why the next tab is my resume. You can see, starting off with the most important thing, them getting in contact with me. Say if they like what they're seeing, they want to learn more about me. From there, we go on to the objective, where I actually tell them what I'm seeking by them looking at this website. And that would be to gain any experience as an intern, hopefully, in the aerospace engineering field. And from there, we're looking at education, because that's the next most important thing that an employer is going to be looking at. It tells about the METSA Academy, my enrollment in the Academy for the past 4 years. And then some of my academic accolades, such as the GPA of 3.19 over 4 years. Last ranked 8th in the class, which I need to update. And then from there, just some of the extracurriculars and awards that I've gained and participated in across high school, such as band, key club, National Honor Society, and all of those being an active member and being involved in the school. As we continue on, just a little bit more, some of the skills I wanted to exemplify were my computer literacy, which is one of the actual things we learned through METSA, and also my volunteer experience, not only through NHS, but also outside in the community, just as you're required to do here through METSA. There. One of the next major pieces, this was actually from sophomore year here in METSA, was a college comparison essay between two universities that we're debating going to. From freshman year, I always known that I wanted to be an aerospace engineer. Even before I got into the Ignite class, which is the aerospace engineering here at Turner, I knew that Texas A&M, that is where my uncle and a couple family members had went, so that was a strong potential contender, along with Georgia Tech, which has always been kind of back in my mind as one of those very high prestigious aerospace engineering colleges. But after looking at the two, breaking it down into a decision matrix and comparing aspects such as location, cost per year, all the expenses that are going to go into it, and just what's the best fit for me, I conclude by telling about how I'm going to go to Texas A&M as an aerospace engineer. And besides the actual fact that I'm comparing the two colleges, this just shows potential employers that, when I make decisions, there's things that I'm weighing on either side of making those decisions. And that's something that an employer would want to see from somebody there, either looking at hiring or just want to make connections with. Here we've got a more tab. It breaks down the learning outcomes, capstone, internship, and then picture gallery, which we'll get to here in a second. Okay. No problem. one of the big pieces I want to talk about with METSA was our learning outcomes. Besides the actual content that we're learning, there's a bunch of other things that develop your character across METSA, such as your critical thinking, the content knowledge, which is actually what you're graded on in the classes, and such other things as your information literacy, which is actually learning how to read through things, develop your knowledge through research and such platforms. And you see here's just a scroll of some of the different learning outcomes. If anybody wants to read through those, they can see first what it's about, how it applies to you here in METSA. And then here was just a screenshot from Echo, our grading platform, to show how well I was doing in each of those different categories. Now we move on to some of the staples here at METSA, one being the senior capstone project. I was fortunate enough to get to do this over the summer with one of my friends, Dustin Call. We held an engineering camp for the incoming freshman students, not only to get them adjusted to the PBL learning environment, but also just kind of get them to dip their feet in the water of what engineering is, what they'd be doing here at METSA, and just kind of make them feel the whole entire family spirit that we have here. The capstone project first started planning at the early summer of last year after our junior year. With Ms. Trani as our sponsor for the project, we worked together to figure out what we wanted to teach the students, what activities would be beneficial to them, and then also how we were going to fund the whole entire venture. After a week-long camp with 14 wonderful freshman students, we ended up finishing our capstone, got great reviews from the students. We actually used a website called SurveyMonkey to get back feedback that we could pass on to other students to do their capstone projects later on in the future. You can see here's our one from a group of students. The final day of our trip, we went to Richland College. We wanted to kind of get them exposed to looking at different colleges, seeing what all they liked in them, and weighing those options just as I did in my college comparison essay. As the second part to one of those large staples here in METSA, we have our internship. This is where we go out in the community, find a community partner, and do something with them to benefit either the community or them themselves directly. For my internship, I interned with the Farmers Branch Public Works Department, learning about civil engineering and dipping my feet in the water as to what all civil engineers do and how to work with professionals in the business. Me and another student, Jonathan Zavala, worked together on a presentation to inform the office about the new method of pipe bursting, which is a process what they use to replace old water pipes, sewage lines, and everything else about the city. So here you can just see, here's a scroll of some of the different slides from our presentation. We first talked about what we were actually doing in the Public Works Department, what our involvement was when we first started out, doing some of the more menial tasks of just filing the plats and blueprints of the office, getting exposure to what we'd be dealing with later on when we did our project. And then we broke down into the actual project itself, which was informing the engineers of the office about the new process which they'd be using to replace all the water lines in the specific neighborhood. You see here just a diagram of the actual process. We also wanted to inform them about the benefits of using pipe bursting, not only the costs, but the effects of the environment, or the lesser effects to the environment compared to the previous open cuts where you actually had to dig up the whole entire pipe. And then from there, we actually walked them through all of the steps of pipe bursting, how the whole entire process worked, and how it would be implemented in the field. And to do this, we actually had to go out in the field with some of the civil engineers and see the process in action. And let me tell you, it's really cool to see a large 10-inch diameter, you can think of it as like a jackhammer, moving through a pipe underground, not being able to see it, but standing on top of the ground and feeling the earth shake and seeing all the soil move off to the sides as it bursts underneath the ground. It's really cool. I just included that for them. And finally, with all of our staples of METSA done, there were other miscellaneous things. Other miscellaneous things through METSA that either I thought were extremely cool or a great experience that I wanted to show people looking at my digital portfolio. One of the biggest things that I think I wanted to talk about was our trip to Virginia for the TARC Nationals, Team America Rock Trick Competition. We beat 625 other teams to get to Nationals in first place, and then from there competed against the top 100 teams for the prize of $60,000 in scholarships, along with just the accolade of winning the Team America Rock Trick Competition, which I thought was really cool. From there you can see here's our plaque or here's our team getting awarded best dressed with our long blue socks and retro sunglasses. Here's also the design of our rocket from this year. One thing I think was really cool was the fact that we handmade the majority of our rocket, fiberglass the entire airframe, made all the fins ourselves, paneling them by hand, and for one, just designing a rocket that didn't look like any of the other rockets we saw there. And we thought that was a really fun aspect to, not the competition itself, but just the whole entire experience. See up in the top right corner, here's a win in Galveston. My team member Jawad and I presented at the STEM Science Fair down in Galveston, Texas. Here we took home first place after presenting our mile-high rockets experiments through Ignite. We just kind of talked over some of the components of the rockets that we were launching, how we made them, and how they performed, and what we learned from those experiences. And then veering off of directly related to METSA, through METSA we've learned a lot about rocketry, and from there I've actually taken that and made that my hobby. I've won first place in the Apogee rocketry finishing competition, where you had to just design a rocket and then from there design the paint scheme and finish it using good craftsmanship. Then just on a side note, another one of my accolades through high school was my experience with archery. I competed in 2 archery competitions at this point, and also placed 4th in the Reinhardt R100, which is one of the largest national competitions. From there, that brings us back to where it all started. After seeing my internship, my capstone project, and what makes me me, I hope an employer will have a very good idea of who I am and what makes me a good employee in the future. Thank you.
Second question is, if you had to give a word of wisdom to the students of METSA and your word of wisdom to the faculty, what would that be?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Well, first off, I mean, being a student, if I had to pass on any advice at all to the students of METSA, it would be just being persistent. Especially with rocketry, here's a great example. When we first started out software designing rockets, they were absolutely horrible. Not only did they not fly straight, I mean, there was just a lot of learning curves, a lot of failures. And then to see where I'm at today with, I mean, not only the rocket designs that I've made, but with my teammates in the class, it's crazy just to see if you just push yourself and be persistent with learning that, I mean, you can build great things. So persistence is the one for the students. If I had to say one for the teachers, it would be, ooh, that's a tough one. Just be friends with the students. I mean, that's one thing I've always got real liked through METSA was just the relationships you have with teachers. The more you can be a friend to the teacher, the more I think that you're going to get out of the class just because you have that deeper connection and you're more willing to learn if you're friends with somebody.
Other questions?
For college experiences, did you visit campuses?
I did. Through the course of 4 years at METSA, we visited not only UNT, but a bunch of other local colleges, UTD, a bunch of colleges down in Galveston, Texas A&M at Galveston. Let's look at what else. We visited quite a few. I visited Texas A&M on my own though, through a notification we got here at the school. We also visited UT. Didn't care for that very much. But no, we visited quite a few colleges, but Texas A&M was always the one that kind of stuck with me.
Comparing yourself freshman year to your senior year, I mean, as yourself,
Okay.
what's the biggest change that you've had?
Well, physically I've gotten about an inch taller,
That's it?
but that's, well,
I haven't
physical
worn
wise,
it all
that's
since you've been here.
Other than that, characteristic-wise, I think that not only have I matured across 4 years just because of the PBL environment and the demands that it pulls on a student, but patience is one that I've acquired across the course of 4 years here at METSA, having to deal with other students. But I mean, that's part of what you should learn here at METSA. If I have to take away one thing that I say I've developed on, that'd be my ability to work with others, and I think that's a great thing.
What impact have the teachers had on you, METSA teachers, compared to the main building teachers?
Yeah, that's good. Well, just like I mentioned earlier, not only I feel like the relationship between the teachers and students here in METSA is a lot more tight-knit. Not only does that, I feel it helps me learn a little bit better just because I have that connection with the teacher. I'm never afraid to ask questions, and if anything arises, I can always go to them for help. I haven't had too many main building teachers. Coach Abel, freshman year in Spanish, he taught me a lot. Other than that, I think that both the teachers in the main building and METSA do a great job there at what they do. I just like the tight-knit family here we have here at METSA.
What was your favorite moment in your 4 years of high school?
Oh, jeez. Where to start?
That could be METSA related.
METSA related. That's a thinker.
There's so
I have to
much.
say, I've never been more nervous than when we launched our sophomore year Ignite One rocket. And I remember just being so nervous, all all sweaty, and just waiting for the rocket to go off. And then it finally soars up. That was a pretty good moment. It's a great moment. The miscellaneous, I got it. No, scratch the Ignite One. With TARC, this is the one moment we qualified. We had to send our qualification launch to actually get to nationals, and both Dustin and I are running out in the field to catch the egg pod, which had the altimeter and egg, and that was the critical piece to getting our score. We had to have it land in 48 to 50 seconds, and as we're running out there, I'm screaming out the times on my phone, 45, 46, 47, and it touches down right at 49 seconds, and it was just the biggest just relief, and just amazing moment. It was awesome. And that was the score that got us in nationals.
Picks it up, 764. I know I can scream that loud.
No, I was freaking out too. Question?